and I will present 5 ways how to navigate and how to fix them. So a few words about myself. My name is Kachanov. As I said, I'm from Moscow, Russia, and I'm a certified professional Scrum Trainer for Scrum.org. It's the company running by Ken Schwaber, one of the authors of Scrum. So there are about like 250 PSTs all over the world, so I'm one of them. And I work for the company called Unusual Concepts. We primarily provide services in the Russian market. Cool. And before we start, please raise your hands if you are currently involved in a Scrum adoption, or maybe you're working on a Scrum team. Oh, cool. Quite a lot of you. So maybe you can find some similarities. Maybe you can refer to something that I'll be talking about. You can find it useful. And the first concept I'd like to talk to you about are these 2 words, project and product. Sometimes we misuse them, sometimes we don't really understand what this is, and I hope you will help me to figure it out. And let's start with the project concept. Who knows 3 main variables of a project? Do we have project managers here? Yeah, please. Yeah. Say it out loud. Scope, one more, time and budget. Yeah, so if you read a PMBOK or something like this, if you have project management experience, right? These are the 3 variables. And how do you determine if a project or project manager is successful? On time and budget. If you manage to deliver the required scope and you spend less money and less time, you're a successful project manager, right? You get your bonus. If it took you longer and you spent more money, you're not successful. You're kind of failure, you will not receive your bonus. That's how it works usually. And on the other hand, we have a product, and I will give you an example of the product. It's an iPhone, everybody knows what this is. And can you give an example, how do you determine if the product is successful? Give me an example. The number of users, sales, return on investment, profit, customer satisfaction. And let me pose a question. Is there a correlation between success of the project and success of the product? And let's try to figure it out with the following example. Who knows this movie? It's Titanic by James Cameron. Like, really great movie. Everybody watched it, probably. And I'm gonna tell a few things about this movie. It was over budget. It was not delivered on time. So, in terms of the project, was James Cameron a failed project manager? No. It just doesn't, well, in terms of, if we think about this as a project, he failed, really. But actually, it's the 2nd highest grossing film of all time. It made more than $2 billion. So, once again, is there a correlation between the success of the project and the success of the product? There's absolutely no correlation at all. And the first anti-pattern that just let's refer to the definition of Scrum, right? And this is like a yellow highlight. Scrum is the framework for delivering products of highest possible value. It doesn't say anything about projects at all. It's only about products. So Scrum works here. And the main anti-pattern that I've been seeing all over the world is like project managers approach teams and they say, okay guys, you're doing Scrum, cool. So could you please deliver this amount of functionality with this fixed budget on time? Scrum is not meant for that. Scrum will not help deliver your projects on time, on budget, on scope. Scrum is not meant for that at all. It's like you have a hammer. If you're a construction worker, it's the right tool. But if you're a dentist, you're not supposed to use a hammer, right? The same thing with Scrum. Scrum is not meant for projects. It will not help it. It's not a magic button. And it's the very first anti-pattern I've been encountering in a lot of companies. The second thing, which is following from the first one, a lot of managers think of Scrum as a turbo button. It's like, oh, cool, we have this very cool methodology, they call it. And now you're going to work 2 times faster. You will be more efficient, more effective. Let me share a story that I overheard in one of the companies, one of the clients. So it's like, okay, we invested in your education, so now you're doing Scrum. We taught you Scrum. So like, yeah, cool. We expect 70% increase of your performance. It's a completely wrong understanding of Scrum. It's a completely wrong idea. It's like, I created this comic. It's like, what is Scrum? Oh, it means you started typing code faster. Seriously, you think that the developers, like every day they have daily Scrum, they stand up, for example, and talk for 15 minutes. Will they start typing code faster? Just insane. It doesn't make any sense. Scrum is not the turbo button. Who remembers, just give me a sec, who remembers these computers from old days? Yeah, I remember it. The turbo button. You kind of press the turbo button and it starts working faster, right? And a lot of managers think of Scrum as like, somewhere on the person there is a turbo button. You kind of press this turbo button and this person starts writing code faster, operating your product faster. Scrum is not about this. Scrum is about working less and delivering more value. Scrum is not a tool for like increasing efficiency or whatever, or like making your developers work like crazy turbo guys, whatever. The next, who has heard the word velocity? Who is using velocity in your work? Cool. Let's figure it out what it actually means. One more phrase that I overheard from one of the companies. I found a book about Scrum. Cool, and what does it say? I didn't read the book, but the title says that you're supposed to do twice the work in half the time. You know what I'm talking about? You know this book, right? It's by Jeff Sutherland, a co-creator of Scrum. Scrum, the art of doing twice the work in half the time. And I understand why Jeff may propose this title, because it sells. Whenever you see this book, you want to buy it, because the title is so juicy, it's so cool. We will be 2 times more efficient. But what Jeff didn't tell you on this title of this book, that it's not about doing twice the work. What is it about? It's about twice the value in half the time. There's absolutely no correlation between amount of work you do and the amount of value you deliver. Scrum is not about working more, working faster. No, Scrum is about sustainable pace. Scrum is about working less but delivering way more value. And this is the third anti-pattern I've been seeing in a lot of companies. Who knows the difference between these two words? Adapt with A and adopt with O. Because sometimes, for example, in Russian language people get confused by these two words. Let me explain. So the word adopt means you apply something. When you adopt Scrum, it means you apply Scrum in your work. And the word adapt means you change something. And in Russia, we have this really strange anti-pattern. When people don't know how to translate this word, they think, oh, this is about changing. We have our Scrum adoption, we need to adapt Scrum, we need to change Scrum. That's how they understand it. And instead of using the tool, they start changing it. One more phrase that I ever heard. Having done increment every sprint is kind of hard, so we tweak the process. So what did you do exactly? We introduced development sprint, testing sprint, and integration sprint. Insane. It's like having waterfall model, but call it Scrum. But it's not Scrum at all. Nice picture. So Ken Schwaber has this funny analogy that Scrum is a mirror that will show all the organizational dysfunctions of your company. And let's say, kind of skinny guy, for example, will look at the mirror and say, oh, I'm seeing an ugly guy in the mirror. This is the mirror which is wrong. You just crush the mirror. And I'm gonna find a better one, a better mirror, which will tell me, oh, Mark, you look great. So I have 2 options. First option, I can admit that maybe I should go to the gym. I should look after myself. I should be working out. But the other option is, okay, Scrum doesn't work in our context, so let's change Scrum. Instead of changing the way we work and changing our organization and fixing the root causes, the root dysfunctions. Who has heard about the word Scrum but? Do you know what this is? It's like you are having Scrum, you have Scrum but, and we have Scrum but we don't have a sprint goal. Cool. We have Scrum but we have no product backlog refinements. Cool. We have part-time, remote, absent, commanding Scrum Master, or actually it's our line manager, but we're doing Scrum. We have boring meetings, but we're doing Scrum. We have demo instead of a sprint review. It's just fascinating, but even many Agile coaches don't even know that there is no demo in Scrum. It's called a sprint review. It's completely different. It's like it has nothing to do with demo. It's like when you get feedback on your product, when you share your product's metrics, success of your product, when you analyze your customer competitors on the market, etc., etc. Daily Scrum is a status meeting. Okay, yesterday I was doing Jira 1, 2, 3, 8, and today I'm going to be working on Jira 7, 1, 2. Oh, cool. And I have no impediments. This meeting has nothing to do with Scrum. Who knows the purpose of Daily Scrum? Just to double check. The only one person of Daily Scrum is to inspect your progress towards the sprint goal and set the plan for the next 24 hours, what we as a team can do, what's the best for us as a team to do to move closer to the sprint goal. It has nothing to do with answering these 3 questions. They are optional. You don't have to answer 3 questions that are written in the Scrum Guide. They're optional. And if you don't have a sprint goal, your daily Scrums are pointless. Sorry for telling you that. Integration, testing, hardening, sprints, whatever. Proxy fake, absent product owners, and I will be talking about this. One more. Development team distributed across 3-5 locations. I've seen a development team which were consisted of 5 people who were speaking 5 different languages from 5 different countries. And they call it development team. They call it's very efficient. It's very cost effective, right? Dependencies on other teams. What does it violate? In Scrum, teams are cross-functional. It means you have all the skills and competences on the development team necessary to deliver a down increment of the product. If you have dependencies on other teams, you're not doing Scrum. Sorry about that. Next thing. Imagine you have one Scrum team. Product owner, well, I didn't put the Scrum Master on the picture, but it's still on a Scrum team. Have one product backlog, you have the development team. Günther was talking about this in the morning. And what does a company do when they think that this experiment is successful? They start to replicate it. And suddenly, you have the second Scrum team with a set of product owner, product backlog, and the development team. And in the end, I've seen a company who had 25 Scrum teams with 25 product owners. Now let me ask you, what these so-called product owners actually own? Do you have 25 products in your company? Seriously? Doesn't make any sense at all. It's a Scrum anti-pattern when you copy-paste in Scrum team. When you have like 25 product owners, but when you ask your customer, how many products do we have? I don't know, 1, 2, 3? So what do these guys actually own? Usually they're just backlog managers. Seriously. They're just backlog managers, proxies, whatever. They are not product owners. Now I'll be talking about real product owners a bit later. Poor engineering culture. And it's time for a bad joke. I don't know how many of you will be able to kind of understand the joke, because I'm Russian, it's like it's a Russian joke. But I will explain. So let me present a high-performance car, cutting-edge technology, extremely high quality, luxurious, the beast, Lada. Wait a second, something has to be wrong. But this is the car from 2012. They were still producing this car in 2012. Does this car look like it was made in 2012? Maybe like in 1970s, it looked well enough, right? So whenever you have such a poor engineering quality in your company, Scrum will not help you. It's like your car cannot go 200 kilometers an hour. It will just fall apart. And Scrum is not the silver bullet. It will not help fix your engineering culture, engine, or whatever. Don't do that, please. Yeah, by the way, I'm Russian, so I'm eligible to say jokes like this. So even in Russian, nobody wants to drive this car. Personally, I do not recommend. One more quote that I've overheard. Why can't we release multiple times a day? Well, we can, but the product quality is not assured. Why is that? Because our test manual. Just to be clear, Scrum was introduced more than 20 years ago. It's a very old thing. Extreme programming was introduced more than 20 years ago. It's an old thing. Like 20 years ago, I didn't have a computer myself. Seriously, I didn't have it. And the practices automated testing, TDD, ATDD, continuous integration, etc. were in place 20 years ago. And if in 2018 you're not doing this, I have bad news for you. Scrum will not help you. Scrum will not save you. Scrum will make all your dysfunctions visible. And it's up to you to either say, okay guys, we're not perfect, we need to improve. Or, okay, Scrum is not for us. We need to change Scrum, right? Scrum doesn't work in our context. We're very special. By the way, every single client I've been working with says that they're special. They're unique. And seriously, we had a situation when, like, imagine one building, and 20 meters apart from this building, there's another one. There's another company which is working on the same market, ranked like one position lower or higher as this one, and they say, no, we're completely different. We have unique situations. Like, whenever you're talking to the companies, they will tell they are unique. And usually it just tells you that maybe they don't really want to change. And I will be talking about this. Okay, let's move on. For product management, and what do I mean by this? How do you prioritize your backlog items? Well, it's easy. All of them have the highest priority. It doesn't sound familiar, right? Cool. So basically, that's what I call poor product management. The only most important thing that the product owner does in context of Scrum is ordering the backlog items. Pretty much everything else, well, apart from product vision, roadmap, business model, etc., the product owner can delegate. Like, he or she doesn't have to write user stories. It's like the least valuable activity for the product owner. It's like, don't do this. The product owner should order the items in the backlog. And when you have these top 20 are the most important, what the development team is supposed to start with. Like, if you're doing these 20 items in parallel, they will end up, they will get stuck. So you have first item, second item, third item, and the development team pulls from the product backlog. It's not a push process when you say, like, okay guys, these 20 items are supposed to be done by this day. The development team pulls items at the sprint planning, and only the development team says, okay, we can complete this amount of functionality in the sprint. That's how it works. So there's a lot to learn, and please raise your hand if you have a product roadmap. That many people. And okay, keep your hand raised if this product roadmap contains product metrics, clear product metrics. Like, first quarter, this amount of revenue, this amount of users, customer satisfaction. So it looks like what you have is not a product roadmap. Yeah? And Scrum doesn't tell you that you have to have a product roadmap or you have to have a business model or whatever. There are just additional practices. But Scrum is just a skeleton. You use all these modern good practices, from all these books, and they're just a few. I hope your product owners have read all of them, because if they didn't, I don't know, maybe they will have some problems, managing the backlog, managing the product. Product vision, business model, roadmap, sprint goals. How do you set sprint goals if you don't have a roadmap? Who has the sprint goals? 1, 2, 3. There's still a lot to be improved, right? So, once again, top 7 Scrum anti-patterns. Projects instead of products. Scrum will not help you with this. Scrum turbo buttons. Twice the work instead twice the value. Scrum bot, changing Scrum instead of changing yourself and changing your organization. Copy-paste Scrum, fake product owners. Poor engineering culture. And poor product management. And if we summarize it with a few words, basically it means when you adopt Scrum, you didn't perform any organizational change or mindset change. Have you heard the phrase that culture follows structure? Have you heard about this? That the structure goes first. You can ask people, okay guys, starting from tomorrow you're supposed to be Agile. But you have individual KPIs, you have 2 managers to report to, and you need to arrive to your workplace by 9 a.m. or otherwise you have some problems. So first of all, you need to change the organization. When you have silos, when you have like departments, okay, let's do Scrum in our IT department, and all the business side is operating like outside of the context, marketing, sales. Like you cannot do this. And basically when you have all these problems, it just means that you don't change your organization. And I have bad news for you. When you apply Scrum, you're supposed to change your organizational structure. You cannot just apply Scrum to your current structure. It will be mechanical, fake Scrum, and you will have all these dysfunctions that I was talking about. Okay, so what are we supposed to do with that? Any ideas? I think we need something like this. Who knows what this is? What is that? Okay, yeah, sorry, it was another bad joke. I mean, I'm not against any framework, but I'm just posing a question. Do complex problems really require complex solutions? Because a lot of frameworks, what they actually do, they tell you, oh guys, you don't need to change. You don't need to change, you just don't change anything and you will be more agile. Can you give an example of such frameworks? I mean, I'm not against them, they're really good. But let's talk about Kanban, for example. It's a really good thing to optimize the flow, and actually a Kanban method by David Anderson is like it's completely separate thing. They have 9 values, they have 2 roles, they have cadences, they have 6 practices. It's a very deep thing. The only one thing that it doesn't tell you, Kanban doesn't change organizational structure. If you had waterfall, you will still have waterfall. It's like, you know Nutella. Nutella is like chocolate paste you apply on the bread. It's like the bread stays the same, you just apply paste on top of it. If you have waterfall, if you apply Kanban on top of it, you will still have waterfall. You can apply Kanban on top of Scrum. There are no contradictions at all. Scrum gives you organizational structure. Scrum tells you, okay, you have a product owner, you have this cross-functional development team, no management whatsoever, managers are optional. Kanban doesn't tell you anything about this. And actually a lot of other frameworks, maybe the one that I showed, just think about them in this way. Do they really change organizational structure or they don't? And the question that I'd like to pose, what if we just descale our organizations? Instead of having like a huge frameworks around all our dysfunctions, like, okay, we don't have Scrum Masters, let's apply a framework that doesn't require to have a Scrum Master. We don't have product owners, let's apply a framework where product owners are optional. And in the end, you're ending up not changing anything. Cool. So what if we redefine our product? What if we say that we're supposed to have a broad product definition? And what do I mean by this? You go to your clients, you go to your end users and ask them, guys, what do you think is the product or service that our company provides to you? They're gonna name a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like sometimes 10, 15, but you know, for huge companies it's 10, 15. Usually it's way less. Basically, what do? You just check if this product has an external customer. No internal customers at all. Like Scrum doesn't tell you how to define a product. A lot of teams, what do? Okay, we're the team, we're kind of making a product that the other team consumes. We're making a backend and the front-end team consumes it. And we have a product owner of the backend system. Has nothing to do with the product. You don't sell backend system to the market, right? The second thing, it has P&L. You know, who knows what the P&L is? It's like profit and loss, basically. You can sell this, you can make money, you can calculate the return on investment. The second and the third thing, just check if there is a market. If there is a market for your product. If like all these 3 factors are in place, it's a good chance. I mean, it's not mandatory, it's not the rule, just a recommendation. Our observation that we're applying for other companies. If these things are correct for you, or right for you, maybe it's a good place to start. No more fake products, no more fake product owners. That's very, very easy. Second, you have one product owner who owns the budget. Do you have product owners who own budgets? Any hands? Please raise your hand. 1 hand, 1, 3. So the product owner can spend money the way he or she wants without negotiating with anybody. That's the product owner, and the product owner responsible for the success of the product, financial and customer satisfaction. So basically, it's like a mini CEO of your product, of your startup, whatever you call it, a huge product. You don't need a PMO, project management office. No need for projects and project managers. Like, what's the point? You're just having this financial model. You know your costs. You know your revenue streams. They're captured in the business model. Use, I don't know, business model canvas by Alex Osterwalder, lean canvas by Ash Maria, or whatever. It's very simple. And by the way, what I'm telling you so far is just Scrum. You notice that I didn't change anything. I just clarified a few things. Broad product definition, one product owner, one product backlog. One product backlog which allows the product owner to maximize value. No more turbo buttons. The product owner doesn't need you to work, I don't know, 2 times faster to perform twice the amount of work you did before. It's about learning twice, I don't know, more from the market and delivering twice the value. It's about this. And the main activity that the product owner does is just ordering the items in the backlog. So far, it's just Scrum. And the only one thing that changes here, imagine you have a big product, like a lot of companies have, like, you know, products with 100, 200, 300, 500, 1,000 people, right? You have a lot of development teams. And the Scrum framework says they're supposed to be cross-functional and self-organized, and I just added a few things because on Scale, it's way better to have them long-lived and collocated, because distributed teams have a lot of, I would say, troubles, because I was working on a distributed team and I was working on a collocated team, and from my own experience, collocation is way better. So, and you can check the book by Craig Larman, great book about large-scale Scrum. He explains why collocation matters a lot. And you have dedicated Scrum Masters. No more like, I'm 90% tester and 10% Scrum Master. You ended up being like a 0% tester, 0% Scrum Master. That's how it works. It's way better to have a dedicated Scrum Master which provides services to, I don't know, 2-3 teams than having like 30% Scrum Master in each team, which combines his role with the role of a member of the development team. And all the teams, they have all the skills necessary to deliver customer-centric features end-to-end. It means like they're not the back-end team, front-end team, and integration team. It's like this is the front-end guy, this is the back-end lady, and this is, I don't know, designer, whatever, how many technologies you have. It just sounds quite simple, right? Just pure Scrum. Nothing really special. Well, in the end, you're supposed to, you know, have technical and business excellence and like normal ladder. Like you can't have this sustainable pace when you're driving ladder. It's impossible. Please don't do this. And a good, like, you know, it just sounds too simple. It cannot be the solution because we're so used to thinking that the complex problems require complex solutions, right? It's like it's a mind trick we're playing in ourselves. It's too simple. It cannot work. Well, it actually works. These are the pictures from my own like consulting work with a few teams, one product on exactly the same thing I was talking about. Like, I'm a very practical guy. I don't like theoretical BS. You know what I mean, right? I really like practice. I really like to make sure that it works in real life. So this is the product group consisting of a few teams with one product owner, with a broad product definition, one product backlog, a few development teams who are cross-functional, they're not component teams. Every single team can complete any product backlog item, any feature. It just sounds insane, you know, might sound like this, but it actually works. And so I'm kind of running out of time, and I knew that the time slot is limited. So tomorrow in the open space, I share this real-life story of large-scale Scrum adoption. I will show you a lot of pictures, how exactly it worked, where it started, where it's at the moment, how you're supposed to kick off, how they're supposed to start this product group, and how to move from classical organizational structure with like a silos, IT, business department hierarchy, to a flex structure with a product owner, Scrum Masters, few development teams. That's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's have a short discussion. I'll be happy to answer your questions if you have some. Yeah, if you could help me facilitate the discussion, that would be.
Can you specify the time for tomorrow?
Timing, I think it's going to be open space, so I don't know the slot yet. I mean, it will be determined tomorrow at the start of the open space. So, yeah.
Thank you. How can we see where adoption of Scrum stops and starts implementing Scrum what?
I'm not sure if I understood your question. Could you please clarify it?
I mean, we need to adopt the Scrum to be successful.
Adopt.
Adapt.
Change. You need to change Scrum to be successful.
Yes.
That's exactly the opposite what I was talking about. Okay, but okay, it's your question. Please go on. Yeah.
We need to adopt or adapt.
My idea is that we need to adopt. We need to apply Scrum framework in our work. Why is that? Because it will show all the dysfunctions you have in your company. It will immediately show you that you are not able to deliver like a usable done increment by the end of every sprint. It will show all the dysfunctions, dependencies on other teams, dependencies on business decisions, that the product owner doesn't have enough permission to make decisions how to spend money, etc., etc., etc. So I recommend to adopt Scrum instead of adapting Scrum.
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we still have some time. More questions?
Either nobody understood what I was talking about, or everybody understood. Or it was very boring.
We have a question.
Yeah, so a question about Spring Goal. You mentioned if you don't have Spring Goal, it's not Scrum. So could you perhaps give an example? Because I have seen quite many cases that we have a lot of like items in Spring that we have to do, not necessarily Spring Goals. So yeah, sometimes it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, it's a great question. How do you set the Spring Goal? And this is the exact a thing I was talking about. Usually teams try to set the Spring Goal by pulling items from the backlog. Okay, we have top 6 items, we pull them into the sprint, and after that we're trying to figure out what is the goal which might be common for all these items. From my point of view, it's a completely wrong approach. From my point of view, even though Scrum does not specify that, the goal goes first. And let me give an example. If you have a product roadmap, you just imagine for a second that you have a product roadmap, which is divided in cycles with 1.5 months or 3 months or 2 months, let's say. For every single cycle, you have a certain product goal. Increase of revenue, increase of customer satisfaction, increase of, return on investment, increase of stability or whatever. So what you do after that, it's just, decomposition of the goal. When you have a goal for 3 months, it's not that hard to set the goal for 2 weeks. You just you have this is your current state, this is where we want to be in 2 months, and you're just drawing the path. And sprint by sprint, you have different goals. So the goal comes first, and probably we're seeing a lot of this actually. And basically, almost always, it means that the product roadmap either is not in place or in a really a bad shape. And the second thing that might help you is how do you prioritize backlog items at the moment? I don't know, but for example, when we're talking about this product metrics, profit, customer satisfaction, sometimes you have legal issues, like government regulations or whatever, and you just, this weighted analysis. You kind of try to score every single element, and based on the accumulative score, you're trying to order them. This might help too. So these two approaches, product roadmap and scoring the backlog, but that's what usually helps.
Questions?
On the first row, the first line.
Okay, thank you. What metrics must product roadmap have?
Well, there is no common definition of what is product roadmap because it's outside of the concept of Scrum. A good example is, for example, Roman Pichler. Who has heard about the Roman Pichler? He has, I don't know where is the book? I'll show you. Okay, yeah, here we go. This is the book by Roman Pichler, Strategize. He is also a certified Scrum Trainer. So basically, he has a lot of good examples of product roadmaps. Well, common metrics could be the number of clients, market share, profit, revenue, return on investment, customer satisfaction. So, for example, a few products and it depends on the stage where your product currently in, right? If you're just starting, if you're finding your business model, the metrics are different. If you has found your business model, the metrics are different. And actually, it's explained in the Steve Blank's book, and Running Lean and Scaling Lean by Ash Maria. So these books answer a lot of your questions, because like in 2 minutes it's really hard to explain everything that's written in them. But if you read them, all the answers are there. Yeah. One more? Yeah. Please.
What is the difference between a product owner and a product manager?
So my answer would what's the difference between product owner and product manager? My answer would be Scrum does not specify the product manager, so I think it depends on your context. Sometimes it's the same thing. Product owner is defined in the Scrum guide. Roles, the role, the responsibility, what product owner can and cannot do, what's he accountable for. But product manager depends strictly on organizational context. And basically we try to kind of avoid this term, because you have product manager, after that you have technical product manager, you have product coordinator, and then I've seen a lot of things like this. So we just suggest, can we just simplify the language? So it will depend on your company, your definition. So there is no common definition of the product manager, as far as I know.
Okay, we still have time for the last question.
One question and the first one.
So is it possible to adopt Scrum in group data warehouse, where you need to have loadings? So it means it's source interface development, data warehouse loading interface development, then you are developing metrics, and then you are developing reports to provide reports to business. So it means that in the team we should have source side, EDV side.
How many people?
Yeah.
How
so
many?
Is it possible in one team to have all such functions?
Oh yeah, just let me give you an example. The pictures I was showing you where they are. Oh, sorry. It's a huge organization, and let's say in one team they're supposed to modify 12 to 16 components with different technologies, different competencies, etc. So it is possible, but it will not happen overnight. It takes 2 or 3 months before you perform the flip, before you do the adoption, because people need to, T-shape, they need to learn other skills. So let's say I had one skill, during 2 or 3 months I'm learning one more. So this example shows you that this is possible. It depends on your current, I would say, situation, and it will not happen overnight, definitely. And there are a few approaches how to deal with this. You can maybe at the very beginning you don't have full feature teams, full cross-functional teams. You can have kind of extended component teams, so they are not able to deliver project end to end, but they are on this kind of delivery line, value stream. They're taking more and more, and it could be gradual.
So this is still the goal, to have all possible competencies in the team.
Well, in terms of Scrum, yes, and basically it's not only Scrum; it's queuing theory. It's pure mathematics. The less queues you have, the faster the flow. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that people are leaving. Probably, maybe we should wrap it up.
What about last question?
Last question? We have one more? Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Mitri. Oh, friend of mine. Question from a friend. Okay.
We just talked about cross-functional teams, and just thought we have a product which has been reproduced through several channels.
Okay.
Does cross-functional feature team should have expertise to develop each channel?
Mm-hmm. So the answer will be, it depends on the definition of the product. If your product includes different channels, and how can you capture the definition of the product? Product vision and second, business model. If you take a look at the business model canvas, a lean canvas, you have channels box. If you have different channels, probably you should have this competency on the team. If the product definition is more narrow, maybe you don't. So the answer depends on how you define the product. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
That's it. Did you like the talk, guys? Yeah. Let's do this too.
Wow.
Yeah. Nice talk. Okay, we're on time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. It was a pleasure for me. And I'll be here tomorrow, so you can join my talk in the open space.